Hello again. Module 2, Software Setup, Software Usage. Now if you've downloaded the software using the standard DVD that comes in the case with the StrikeMaster 2 Touch, then you should be ready to go. If you have problems, be sure to go to the roadvista.com website, in which you can download the software by clicking on the resources link, then software, scroll down to the StrikeMaster 2 Touch software link, click on it, and you'll be able to download. Now let's get started. First thing I need to make sure, if you're following along, that your SM2T is plugged in with the USB cable that we actually sent with the unit into the computer, and your software is pulled up. Next, we're actually going to ensure that the StrikeMaster 2 Touch is connected to the computer so it can communicate properly. I want you to take a look at the very top tabs. Select COM port. From Select COM port, you auto-locate your StrikeMaster. Once it's connected, we know that we're ready to go. If you cannot be found, StrikeMaster not found, COM port not found, it's because you probably don't have the unit connected properly. It can also be a driver issue, which is built into the software, and you can download that as well. But generally you won't have any problems. And once you've established a COM port connection with your StrikeMaster, you won't have to do this anymore. Hit OK. Now we're going to go over configuring the StrikeMaster 2 Touch, or the SM2T. Configure StrikeMaster. You have the ability to download a list of comments, assets, location on road descriptions, and even the pass-fail limits. And you get to choose which ones you want to use while you're out on the road. This will be a lot more clear when you are in Module 5 of the measurements and use of the touchscreen. I want you to take a look at these tabs here. They actually enable you to download whatever comments you previously have in your StrikeMaster 2T. If you don't have anything at all, you're actually going to write from scratch in the empty fields. If you do have information in the StrikeMaster and you want to change it, then simply clear the fields to do so. But for right now, I'm going to give you an example of what it's like to already have information in the StrikeMaster, and I'm going to bring it up in the software. By hitting these keys right here. As you can see, I have these remarks already in the StrikeMaster 2T. If I want to change them, I simply click on comment 1 of thermoplastic, and maybe I want to put in, let's just say, since I can't think right now, since I'm got so many things, or spell for this matter, traffic markings. And then I would actually send it to the StrikeMaster 2T by clicking on Write Comments to StrikeMaster. Boom, they've been sent. If I want to change them again, I simply backspace, and then send them again. Now, The comments, the assets, the location on the roads are all predetermined in the software that you see before you. Some of the things that you can actually add to the SM2T from the actual firmware or the touchscreen is file information and pass-fail limits. Now you can write those in here as well, or you can choose to fill them out on the device itself. With the pass-fail limits, you determine what minimum retroreflectivity numbers you're looking for. If you're in the state of Florida for new construction, we know it's 450 for white thermo and 350 for yellow thermo. If you're in Indiana or West Virginia or Georgia, it could be something completely different. Tap on the field and type it in. Now, as far as the header information goes, if you would like to use one of the 50 files, and you can see the 50 files on the bottom left, simply click on the file and type in the information that you would like to obtain or create for file 28 in this matter. US, let's say I'm on 95 the next couple days, and it's a DOT test tech. And then I would actually send the information to file 28. Now file 28 has this information. Steve, US North 95 and DOT test tech. The attributes that we've documented, this is permanent on all the screens until you change it. The only thing that changes by a click of a button would be the file information. 50 files available, 500 readings per file, 25,000 readings per unit. Now, here's a nifty trick. Let's say that you like the configuration that you have for comments, assets, locations, and fail pass limits. But you want to be able to change those, but you don't feel like typing every time. So we actually give the ability to create a configuration or a template, as I would call it. Save configuration, open configuration. So let's make believe we want this information. Save configuration. I actually name it perm file asset on the bottom. I've already saved it, but we can resave it as training demo, and then click save. Now we've saved that file. I'm going to clear these fields. They're not erasing them, they're just clearing them. And now we're actually going to open up an existing configuration. So we don't have to worry about filling these out manually. Open configuration, and we'll call it training demo, open. There you go, ready to go to work. So this is the training on Strike Master configuration. I'm closing this up. We're actually going to go to the next step, and that's saving data that you've collected in the Strike Master 2 Touch. So let's talk about saving data to the software and then downloading it into your computer for Excel, Access, and even Maps. For those of you that are GIS specialists, you can also save these files as shape files for more extensive GIS work. So let's take a look at something here. You have a couple options. Number one, save data file. that is to save data from the SM2T. Open data file. We can open the data from existing files that we've saved. And then upload data. This is to upload data from the SM2T directly into the software. And that is step number 1. So go ahead and click on that. Remember those 50 files? Well, I only have 3 files with information. So we will take a look at file number 2. You can actually save all of them or one. It's completely up to you. Click OK. The data that I have saved is right here in front of you. Now there's 2 other fields that you're looking at here. There is the field description and then the record number. This is pretty important because you may save it separately, and I'll show you what I mean. Right here and right here, you can actually save the information into an Excel spreadsheet as 1 spreadsheet or 2 spreadsheets. Generally, I leave the field descriptions and the record numbers as 1 file. And I'll explain. I need you to take a look at CSV options. CSV options give the ability to combine the file header or the field description with the actual information onto one Excel spreadsheet. Or you can actually separate it. And I'll show you the example of that shortly. I leave it as 1 file. The next thing we're going to do is save the data. So let's do that now. Your computer is taking over from this point. The software is asking you, what do you want to save it as? So we can actually save this as, let's say, training software, and then click on Save. You can actually create your own files and folders the way you want. Now we're not done yet, because that is a CSV file, basically an Excel spreadsheet. What if you want to be able to map the coordinates along with the data in conjunction to having an Excel spreadsheet? We would need to go back into the saved data file and resave it. But this time, we're going to save it as a KML. CSV file right here. Let's click down. KML. So now I'm actually going to save this as a KML file. This is for Google Earth, Google Maps. This is so we can actually look at our coordinates and markings that we've tested once we're done. Click Save. And as you can see here, this is the file to be saved under. So we've just saved these 5 readings. Now there's a little bit more with the KML. You get the same type of thing as you do with the CSV file, and that is the ability to change the KML options. When you pull something up on a map, how do you want to read it? If there are 200 data points all over the road that you've actually shot retroreflectivity readings on, how do you want to look at it on a map? Do you want each data point to give a retroreflectivity reading, as you see here? Or perhaps you want to change it to a record number, or maybe a lane number. time or date, anything you want. I leave the map set up so I can see everything as a retroreflectivity reading. Now, if you're creating different files and different data streams and you want to be able to see the markings, and let's say you need 20 readings for this one job, then maybe the record number, because that's actually going to give you how many records or how many readings you've done. So why don't we leave that for now? Also, if you'd like to have a little more confusion on the maps, because that's all I see it as, you can click on GPS accuracy circles. It's actually annoying little circles that shows you the true accuracy. I actually keep this turned off because once you create a map, you can drag the markings to the correct spot on the line if you know where you are on the map. So let's hit OK and get out of that. Now we're actually going to look at a couple of the other features in the software. Let's cross out what we've actually gone over. Upload data, select COM port, we've saved data, we've configured the Stripe Master, KML and CSV options. Next will be Open Data File. This actually gives you the ability to open up an existing file that you've saved on your computer back into the software. Most people will not use this. You'll typically open it up on your own computer. Cancel. Next, clear memory. If you actually click this on, be sure to have your information saved. This clears the files and the records from the software. If you do not clear the memory, be sure to only download the files that you need. You don't want to continuously download all the files because you'll be repeating data. The information does not leave the software until you go to clear memory. So maybe you'll wait until you're ready to delete everything. Next, diagnostics. Diagnostics are actually something that we use in-house to do a system check on the software and the device. So this feature is turned off. View log information. This actually gives us the ability to know what's going on if there's any issues with the software. This is more for us back at the office. Help. Hopefully you won't need any help, right? The manufacturer's name and website is here, along with the version number of the software. And that's really the biggest thing. When we ask what version software do you have, click on the help and we can actually see it. 1031. Last but not least, firmware update. Firmware updates are only used if we have a new feature that we're adding to the screen, or perhaps there's a bug in the system. We'll send you the firmware update, have you connect the unit, and walk you through the firmware update yourself. It's quite easy if you know how to use a computer. And that's actually it for the software. Now, I'm going to actually go into my computer now and pull up the Excel spreadsheet of the data that's saved, along with an example of some mapping. All right, so I just pulled up on my computer my files, and I'm actually going to click on the file that we just saved. So let's take a look at that. It's in an Excel format. Now remember, I want everything on one spreadsheet. So this is actually just notes on all the information that the StrikeMaster 2 Touch is capable of. Even the calibration is documented in here. We're going to scroll down and look at this data right here. Now, you can actually see the time and date as well, that the recordings were taking care. From relative humidity to the accuracy of the GPS to where the assets were, all the way across to the user comments. The user comments are interesting because this is where you can actually type in particular items. And it's actually the entire column that you can do that in. Next, the pass-fails. This is actually the minimums that we had, and this is the actual numbers for the retroreflectivity. So let's take a look at another one now. The training software. This is the actual download that we just did. It only has 5 readings, so there's not a lot of readings. But they're right down here. And again, your time date can be pulled open. As you can tell, it was just a sample. We didn't have any type of GPS. And you'll know if the GPS is actually not working because number one, the accuracy, and there's nothing in here. This is basically just a sample. Next, I'm going to show you the mapping. So we're going to get out of here and go to my folder called Maps KML. And I'm actually just going to click on something that'll pop up very easily. And once you download Google Earth on your computer, when you open up a KML file, it'll automatically take you right to the area that you've done readings. It takes a little bit of time to set up because you do need an internet connection. And then once you actually pull it up on Google Earth, you can zoom in, or it zooms in automatically often enough. The other thing that's interesting is if you use Google Maps, you have a little more control over what you do instead of Google Earth. You can create names for maps and have a lot more flexibility than in Google Earth. But Google Earth just looks a lot cooler. You can zoom in a little bit more. And then if you were to click on, and do you see these circles? I had the accuracy feature turned on to the GPS. I don't do that anymore because it's just confusion. So let's just click on a number and see what we have. This is record number 3. I'll let you read. And basically, all the information is before you. Anything we've documented will be in this file. From the time, date, GPS coordinates, temperature, relative humidity, and any of the other attributes. Pass or fail, and the limits. But that's it for the software setup and software usage. Be sure to tune in to Module 4. We're going over calibration of the unit. Thank you very much.